movie fans, welcome to Cold and Trash Horror Movie Grinding Podcast. I am your host, Ian. This is the show in which we grind on the absolute worst horror and sci-fi movies we can find and make fun of just how bad they are, as well as praise the good, cool classics that have been lost throughout time. Now get ready, because we're about to dive real deep inside of Hollywood's dumpster in search of the good, the so bad it's good, and the fucking ugly. Now put on your seatbelt, grab a beer or two, and enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to Cold and Trash Horror Movie Grind. I'm back with another one. I'm here with my man Dustin. What's up, Dustin?
What's happening, my man?
Chilling. So we're going to do a different episode this week. This is going to be a more Dustin-centric episode. Dustin, what are we doing today?
Man, we're doing werewolves, and specifically the Howling franchise. Its entirety has only been spoken a couple times on YouTube, but we're going to do it right today and give you reasons why one would be better than the other instead of just saying so.
Right. So we're going to be actually ranking all of the movies in the Howling franchise. More specifically, you're going to be ranking them because I've only seen two movies.
You've seen a couple. Tossin, you remember something that you want to spit up?
Well, I'll say I've only seen the second one, Your Sister's a Werewolf from 1985, and I've seen just recently part 6, The Freaks. And they're both fun. I like Sisters of Werewolf more because that one's more fun. I think it's more campy, more like bizarre and crazy.
Right.
But Freaks is pretty cool too. It's like a lone drifter comes into town and solves all the problems with his powers of being a werewolf.
Yeah.
But you're a big fan of the franchise, so like. What we're going to do here is I'm going to have you rank them from worst to best.
That works for me, man.
All right.
I have a lot of negative things to say about the worst one, and then I'll go.
Well, let's get started. What is the worst one? What's your least favorite?
The worst one. All right. Well, first let me say this: these are all cult horrors, and there is a community of fans that specifically like to linger around the werewolf genre. And that reason being, because I'm one of those people. Well, I like all movies, but I'm in that community of the werewolf lovers. What we love about the movies is all about the transformation and what kind of time and money they spent into giving you a visual experience of someone turning into a creature. You know, it's like vampire, they just grow teeth, maybe their skin changes.
Yeah.
This is a full dramatic metamorphosis, and that's what werewolf lovers who want to see when we watch those types of movies.
Like what is a Werewolf in London?
Right. They American Werewolf in London and Howling Part 1 both set the tone and expectations for what we want to see out of a werewolf movie. The storyline could be completely terrible, but you watch this 10-minute of someone screaming in agony and bones popping and cracking and turning into a wolf. That right there is so dramatic and exciting and terrifying.
For sure.
Because of that, there is a guy. There's a reason why there's multiple Howlings and not of the American Werewolf in London. And that's because a man named Gary Bradner had written a trilogy in 1977, a novel, Howling 1, 2, and 3. And they made those movies, of course, and then other directors and writers kept going with his shit. They were able to do it because they did their movie on a lower budget, and they were able to show that they could do werewolves that looked just as cool. That was an American Werewolf in London on a lower budget, and they actually made a larger return. So the franchise just kept going. And then there's another reason why we don't see very many werewolf movies is because they're expensive and it's a coin flip. It's either not going to make any money and become a cult classic, or just nothing at all, or be a flop at the box office, because they're all flops at the box office.
Yeah.
And we want to see the animatronics. And the only recent movies that have werewolf animatronics that haven't fully converted to CGI are the last two Underworld movies. They did full-blown animatronic white werewolves with tall ears, long snouts, and all that.
Okay.
So now that we're done through the whole history lesson, the shittiest one on the list is by far the last one that came out in 1990. Not the last one. It came out in 1995. It's part 7. And none of these movies are related, by the way. I want to let you know each movie has its own individual story, because some of them are different types of werewolves completely. This one tried very poorly to connect part 4, part 5, and part 6 to 7, and didn't pull it off in any way, shape, or form. It related part 6 by saying, hey, it showed a clip of part 6 of a girl at the freak show.
Oh, really?
And they go, and here, she's still here today. That was it. All they want to do is point out that there was a girl in that show and mention that she's still alive. And you never see her in the entire movie. And I watched it again last night. I was like, why haven't I watched this in 25 years? I'm like, well, here's why. It's confusing as hell. And they're trying to connect the dots, and there's no dots to connect. They brought the girl back from part 4, who, that makes no sense. She fucking dies at the end, or at least they lead you to believe she's startled by a werewolf, an awesome werewolf. And now she's seeing a therapist in part 7 going, I saw a werewolf. What do I do with my life? And it's linked to nothing in part 7 at all. She's just in therapy because she once saw a werewolf. Just so terrible. And then they link part 5 in there, which takes place like 100 years ago. I'll just stop there. It's terrible, and there is no great grand finale of a werewolf metamorphosis. You don't even get that. You'll watch 90 minutes of shit. Like, better be a freaking badass werewolf at the end, like there usually is, and you don't. You get this girl going, well, you know what? I have something to tell you guys. And she opens the blinds, and she just, her face just magically werewolf. And it's a split second, and the movie's over, and the credit rolls.
So that's the only time there's a werewolf in the entire movie? In
the entire movie. The rest of it, they did it the cheap way. Ugh. They let you see the werewolf through its eyes, so they just put a red lens.
Oh, really? Oh, that's stupid.
Right. They did that 3 times, and yeah, you see it hunting someone, and the person getting hunted, all 3 times they were running through the same part of the woods. I know this. I rewound it over and over, and I was like, all 3 of them ran through the same exact path randomly deep into the woods.
I think the franchise died right after that.
Oh, man, they murdered it. There was no coming back, and they waited 18 years before they made another one. It just, look, I'm not going to tell you not to watch it. If you've made it through 5 or 6 of them, go ahead and top yourself off with a ball of shit, because, I mean, anything we're doing is we're doing right. I mean, because they do gradually go downhill, and some do gradually actually get better.
Okay. Well, what is your second least favorite?
My second least favorite, and you're going to hate me for this, and it all has to do with the werewolves in particular. It's part 2, and part 2 does actually link to part 1.
As a werewolf.
Party time! Ow! It's the rocking, shocking, new wave of horror. Howling 2.
Your dreams again, howling.
Howling 2. It's not over yet.
Right, because the ending of Howling 1, the alpha wolf is a female. She's the one who changes all the werewolves and makes the clan.
Yeah,
And
played by Sybil Danning now, so that's always
yeah,
great.
no, she's not sore in the eyes at all.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It's definitely a so bad as good kind of movie for sure. I liked it because like it's yes. First of all, you got Christopher Lee in it, but he hated the movie so bad he had to apologize to the director of the first movie for even being in the second one. So yeah, but yeah, like go on about it. Like what you say that you don't like the werewolves in it.
Well, Gary wasn't happy either because he's the writer. He didn't really
Yeah,
participate in these films. He just allowed them, to make it, and he make money. But he actually gave his input for part two, considering he wrote part one, two, and three. So they had an advantage in that movie, a huge one. And all they had to do was just listen to what he would say that would make the story complete and more appealing to the werewolf lovers. And the director just didn't listen, didn't take advantage of the opportunity that was so gracefully given to him. So I find that difficult and frustrating because that definitely affected the film. And the werewolves, I mean, I'm sorry, they looked like crack out hookers who hadn't been paid in weeks. Freaking hiding out in a warehouse, and I couldn't stand all the close up of their eyes. Oh, I'm looking over there. Now I'm looking over there. Cool. You look at stuff. Why don't you eat something? I mean, it's just,
yeah.
I think the point of that when they were doing those close-ups is they wanted to give the viewer their point of view, like the werewolves are there, but the people don't know. But the werewolves are watching them. I think that's you were supposed to be getting a glimpse from their point of view that they see the humans, but the humans haven't spotted them yet. Or maybe he's just weird and he likes eyeballs. I don't know. I'm
And
just
then there's that shitty 80s pop band, like synth band, playing the same song, the entire movie all the way through. Like,
don't get me started on crappy songs. They wrote a song for part 7, and we already passed that one. We
yeah.
can't go back.
Well, let's go on to the next one. What's number 3 on the list?
Number 3 is part 5.
Behind these walls lurks a terrible secret.
I think this castle does have a past, and it's a past that's been deliberately covered up.
A secret that has been silenced for centuries.
So you're convinced its lack of history is deliberate?
To even speak of it was punishable by death.
A secret that has claimed the lives of generations.
Some said suicide, some said murder.
Now, 500 years later, these doors will open once more.
You will be the first people to step inside the castle for 5 centuries.
And before this night is over,
You were not invited to this castle by chance.
someone will be intrigued.
About 1,000 years ago in Hungary, packs of savage wolves actually terrorized this area.
Someone will be deceived.
What if she finds out?
She won.
Someone will be tantalized, and all will be terrorized.
Whatever it is, it has human intelligence.
If it lives, you will be damned forever.
The Howling returns with all its shocking powers. Howling 5, The Rebirth.
Right, and like I said, I rated all of these movies are based off your werewolf, what kind of work they put into the werewolves that you were going to get to look at, and the creativity of the storyline, because they all have very unique storylines. Now, part 5 had a great, fantastic storyline. If you're interested in seeing a movie that's somewhat not a werewolf movie, I mean, there is a werewolf. There's no grand finale of seeing. Well, what it is if you've ever played the game Clue or seen the movie Clue, this is a who done it with what and where. Except we know what it was. It was a werewolf, but who was it? And how did it go down and all of that? And that's them. And no, it's not. just so you don't jump to conclude, oh, it must have been the host of the place. Because they go and they visit like a late 18th century castle, for fun. And they're just going through this whole castle. It's all huge, and it's awesome to look at, and everyone's split up, and slowly, one by one, people are dying, and it becomes an investigation.
Okay. That sounds kind of cool.
And the ending, this isn't going to be a spoiler for you, but it ends. Everyone's dead, and the camera is panning over every single person. That it's a really cool close up. That it doesn't have a good ending. Just everyone loses.
Well, I like movies like that. Why is it called The Rebirth? Is it like Friday the 13th, A New Beginning?
Dude, to be honest with you, I have no idea, and I do look instinctively into movies and why they would be linked a certain way. And the only conclusion that I could come up with is that it being called Rebirth is because Part 4 is actually a remake of Part 1. So, this is why I would think it's called, like, now we're doing it again. We're starting, because they do kind of some way try to connect 5, 6, and 7. It's so miserably done. Just don't even think about that when you're watching the movies.
Okay. Speaking of 4 being the original, that's next on your list, isn't it?
Yeah, Part 4 and
the Original Nightmare.
Just when you thought you were safe, comes Howling 4. The Original Nightmare. Too shocking for the faint-hearted. Too horrifying for the romantic. And all too devastatingly real.
We're right, Janice. We are werewolves.
Howling 4 is strictly for those of us who sense when something is terribly wrong. Howling 4, the Original Nightmare. Your nightmares will never be the same again.
Right. That one came out in 1988. And so everyone by now should have at least seen the first one or the second one. Those are the two biggest grossing, they were the most popular. So if you've seen the first one, this is an exact copy, except with much less great actors who were obviously, they were getting paid virtually nothing. Everything went into the werewolves. But the storyline is the same. It is a female. Okay. There's a couple. They're out, having a cabin out in the wood, vacation type thing. And the female werewolf is luring off the boyfriend, sleeping with them, turning him into a werewolf. But this movie had a transition of a werewolf. Scrap all their crappy acting, because this movie is strictly just for the werewolf, because the grand finale werewolf is freaking awesome, and they do it 3 different ways in here, and one I've never seen. So when one man actually turns into a werewolf, he melts all the way. All of his skin and bones and everything melts into a puddle of slime.
Damn.
And out of that slime starts to form a werewolf skeleton that starts putting all the pieces back together, but in the shape of a werewolf. And I've never seen that type of style of turning into a werewolf in any werewolf movie. And I've seen them all. I go looking for them. Even the crappy ones, I give them a chance. I'm like, maybe there'll be a cool metamorphosis, and that'll make up for everything. And that one was pretty crazy. And his girlfriend walks in on it. And she, what do I do? He's turning into a liquid goo, and there's hundreds of werewolves surrounding, cheering it on, which was also weird. He literally had like werewolves in the background, like, doing that, like turning into the liquid, and like tearing them up. This is a lot of excitement, man, for guys melting, and then turns into werewolf. And then your grand finale in 4, like I said, scrap the whole story, just fuck that whole thing. You want to see werewolves. So this one, the final werewolf, because they all always have a final werewolf reveal, except for Part 5. This one has the coolest werewolf. It is obviously, it's the person that you least expect the whole time, and she's gone to him for help, and his face splits in half, and he starts ripping off his cheeks, and the longest snout. I mean, this is a massive. If you look at scale, go to Google and you can look at how massive this werewolf is. His head is like the length of almost a full adult human being. Ears, eyes popping out with a silver glaze. His arms are 10 times longer than they should be, with hands and fingers that could just literally just pick a person up with one hand and drop them down. And it's a long, extended transformation. And that's what people love about the first one, especially.
Right.
Which is why I think they tried to recreate it.
So, wow. Okay, so this one, Original Nightmare, this is like in the middle of your list. So it's basically, if I get this right, it's exact copy of the first one, but shittier, but with a really cool transformation.
A much better werewolf transformation than what you get with the first. The first one's fantastic, but they put every bit of the penny into the werewolf in 4, and it is the craziest werewolf out of all of them in my opinion.
So everything other than the transformation is just like pretty shitty.
Right. Watch don't just fast forward through it. Watch the crap. So then you get the build up and you're like, oh, what the hell just happened? So you can at least experience that, or fast forward to the, transformation. I mean, it's worth it for that. So it's in the middle of the road because it has fantastic werewolf transformations.
Right. Okay, cool. So that's the only like saving grace for it. That's the only thing that has good going for it.
A lot of animatronics, and they did it perfect.
Okay. So what is a Howling movie that's better than that one?
That's better than that one is going to be the Howling Part 3 that came out in 1987, and it's called Marsupials.
A terrifying legend never dies. It lives on. You were frightened in the Howling. And you'll be horrified as never before as the Howling terror continues in Howling 3, the most terrifying howling of all.
I wonder how many more of them there are out there. Jesus.
But how many of them have we killed over the years? They're nearly extinct.
I think they're dangerous. Evolutionary freaks.
We possess evidence that werewolves exist.
Where, for God's sake?
Australia.
Jeez, g'day. Want to put a shrimp on the barbie?
The Howling terror continues with a whole new breed of werewolves in Howling 3. Rated PG-13.
So this is another one that has a completely oddball storyline. It's not connected in any way to Part 2 or Part 1 or Part 4 because it takes place in Australia. Their werewolves are called marsupials because they are this is where we're going backwards because the movie started off where they're shapeshifters. There's no werewolves, they're shapeshifters. And in this one, they are shapeshifters that are marsupials. They are essentially, when they complete their transformation, they look like a were-kangaroo. They actually carry their babies in pouches just like kangaroos, and you do get to see a lot of that. And one thing I do love about it is that they don't look like werewolves. They look fucked up, but there's a lot of it. Throughout the movie, you see a lot of transformations. To sum up the plot, these people are in Australia filming a movie. A couple of the actors happen to be a part of this marsupial were-kangaroo clan, and unbeknownst to them, some of their clan are being tortured behind closed doors by scientists, and they figure this out, and they're trying to rescue their clan. They are a clan that don't want to kill and destroy humans. They just want to live their life and be left alone. And there's a love story mixed in there too, with a man who falls in love with a female marsupial, and that relationship's going on. So you get to watch them building their love for each other, and he decides he wants to help her save her kind. But there's back-to-back transformations, messed up ones, because they're doing experiments on some, have them chained down, and you see like half a werewolf with like 9 titties, which I guess marsupials have 9 tits. I don't know. Transformation, and you start seeing tit after tit after tit popping out. I'm like,
wow,
this is crazy. And there's a lot of it. So if you're like me and you're one that loves the transformations, that's what you're looking for, you get this back to back. Part 3 has more than any of the other movies combined. There's continual transformations. They just don't look when you see on the cover, and the cover is a werewolf like jumping through glass or whatever with big red eyes. That's not what you're going to get. You're going to get something else, but they are badass, and they spent a lot of money on those animatronics. They look great. So it's chaotic with transformations.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds insane. We might have to cover that one later in the future.
Yeah, because the other guy who's going to join us for part 6, that one was his pick. He loves that one.
Right.
And it is a good one.
Yeah. So we've got 3 more left to go. So we're on your top 3. So what
top three? Top 3 is the Howling Reborn. Came out in 2011. I believe it was released in theaters in 2012, but ended up going
very original title they got going there. The Reborn, after number 5 is The Rebirth, and now we got Reborn.
Right. Dude, none of the names are that spectacular. It's the Howling something for all of them.
Yeah.
But, so this one, it didn't perform that well, but it came out at a time where critics' opinions have taken over, the mainstream audience, and
this is 30 years later.
It takes place in a college, actually. So it was made for a younger audience. They were trying to get a new fan base so they could make new Howling movies. So your werewolves are like students. The storyline is awesome. It misleads you. There's a love story going on, and the man is falling in love with another student, and she happens to be a werewolf. He figures that out, and he starts realizing there's deaths going on. He starts suspecting her, obviously. So he's now in fear that this woman he loves is also a murderer. What does he do? And he, unbeknownst to him, he actually gets triggered. He gets scratched, and he starts becoming a werewolf. And then he starts thinking he's also killing. So there's a lot of assumptions. I'm now killing. My girlfriend's killing. We're all killing, type of thing. So there's a mystery behind it. But the werewolves in this one, because this was made 15 years after the 95. Technology has come a long way, and they did do animatronics, and their werewolves looked wicked. You do get to see lots of them. You get to see from their point of view, and several transformations. And they look like how we all. If you were a dog soldier lover, those types of werewolves, we love those werewolves that are 12 feet tall, long arms, long ears, long snout. These look just like that, but they're gray and white. They did something sweet with the coloring. I think they gave them some highlights too. You're like, oh yeah, that's totally a retro werewolf.
Okay. Since this one came out in 2011, I guess is there a lot of bad CGI and stuff? Like, how's the special effects?
There's a few. Yes, there's some CGI, but not where it counts. Where it counts, they did do animatronics.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Right. So otherwise, I would have put this way down on the list. But this is what I'm saying. Our animatronics now is expensive as hell. If they want to do it, it's a lot of money. It's a lot cheaper to do CGI. But they did it, and their werewolves look awesome. They made 3 of them, and they're wicked. Yeah, and just like like what we loved about the first one, with watching the face stretching out and teeth popping out, new ones growing in, type of stuff.
Yeah.
So there was, for some of the stunts, CGI had to jump in there, werewolf jumping from one building to the next type of stuff, obviously. But your transformations are real, and they're up to date, and I thought they looked awesome, and I thought the whole mystery of who's actually the killer. Anyway, I won't tell you if it's a good it's a good ending or a bad ending, and that like it sucked.
Just find out for yourself.
Yeah, find out just watch it. Hey, you're watching the Howling movies. You made it this far to this channel to see which should I watch in order, and I'm telling it to you. So watch this one. It's one of the better ones. Oh, and by the way, there are only a few Howling ratings on YouTube, and they're terrible. And I'm not gonna put this dude on blast, but his was so shit. It was on a computer. He was just sliding over which one, and not talking, and just showing quick clips of each ones, and you just assume worst to best. I don't know. He doesn't even say that.
There's a lot of that on YouTube.
Yeah, it's completely, and it has like 3 million views. So
there's like no reason why.
no reason why. Explain yourself, fool. And then he had part 5 up there, and usually he was showing like clips of like the werewolves. In part 5, he showed the credits. What the fuck are you showing me, man? This is gonna get me to watch. You're right, part 5. I'm down for the credits. I can't wait. I go to movies for 2 hours because all I want to see are the fucking credits.
Right. Well, I mean with like MCU movies, that's starting to become the case.
Yeah, no, you're right. So while you're scrolling through YouTube, looking at the Howling, I'm telling you right now, this one's the best one. Even if I only talk for 5 minutes of one of them, it's better than that 15-minute hogwash bullshit. And you'll know when you see it because it'll pop up. Do Howling ranked? It's the first one. 3 million views. Hey, so you know who you are? Who did that? Hit me up at your Tapwater's Crap. I'll talk shit all day.
Hell yeah.
All right, so
number 2 now.
Yeah, number 2 is part 6.
Howling 6, The Freaks.
The world will look at you with awe. As long as you're with me, they'll never again call you freak.
Step right up for the most bizarre carnival ever staged.
Well, allow me to be your guide.
But here is the most astonishing.
Your guest has a little secret.
The most deadly.
Stand back, he's dangerous.
The most terrifying exhibit of all.
I'm the new entertainment.
Is this God's will to put a man on display like some sort of animal?
We are not talking about a man.
He tore her limb from limb.
You can't deny your true nature.
You get this thing taken care of. Find out whoever or whatever is to blame. Kill it, arrest it. I don't care which.
You see the devil? You shoot him.
Things work shall not go unpunished.
The series renters are howling for returns with its most spectacular addition ever. Howling 6, The Freaks.
That one came out in 1991. And The Freaks. This one had a great storyline. And of course, these are just my opinions, but I love the storyline of part 6 because it humanizes the werewolf. So first of all, werewolves aren't the enemy in this one. Okay. We have a lone man who's been cursed. He doesn't know what to do or go with his life. Once a month he turns into a werewolf. So he's just a man on the road, probably hopping town to town, work there a few weeks. Yeah. He's going to spuzz out into a wolf. He bitches out and goes to the next town. I don't know. But so he's here, and he's not a bad werewolf. He doesn't want to kill or hurt anybody. And there's a circus in town, and the owner of the circus has discovered that he's a werewolf. Well, he wants to include him in his freak show because he does have a late night freak show that is an alligator man. I don't think he's really actually partly alligator. I think he just has really bad psoriasis or something. I don't know. Covered in scales, and then he has a woman with one boob. I don't know. I've seen that before in real life. I'm not sure if that's really considered a freak thing. I don't know. One of my balls are bigger than the other. Can I get in the freak show?
Right. Yeah.
And then he has a little person because I believe the other word's not allowed anymore. He has a little person that has a third arm growing out the side. But anyway, discovers the werewolf, puts him in the show, and he wants the werewolf to be scary. Everyone's flocking to it. And he's like, great, now I want him to eat something.
There's a cat at him.
Yeah, so he just launches a cat at him, and he catches it. And by the way, it's a real cat. Look at the cat's face. That cat was scared.
Oh, yeah. Mortified. It was like clawing at him and shit.
Scratching at the werewolf's mask. And that scared the shit out of me, too. If I was just that was a tall werewolf, like 7 foot tall. And he did look a little different from the other werewolves. His face wasn't all stretched out, but they pulled it off in a way where he's, more because they were trying to humanize him. I think they wanted to cut back on the wolfiness of the actual face, but he didn't want to kill the cat. Even as a werewolf, he didn't want to kill anything, and he felt bad for it. And also, one of his friends, that was his cat. And the owner gets pissed off. Closes the whole thing. Yeah, I wouldn't eat a fucking werewolf. Wouldn't even eat a cat. Why does he need to eat a cat? I mean, it's a werewolf. That's fucking terrifying. Why do we have to add? If he doesn't tear a cat apart, this show's gonna suck. I'm already like, oh shit, werewolf.
Right.
But anyway, so he gets mad at him, and the twist is at this point is that the circus owner, he's a real freak himself. He's a vampire, and this vampire, in my opinion, is the coolest looking vampire I've ever seen.
Yeah. You actually have a vampire fighting a werewolf in this one.
Yeah, that's the whole build. The whole movie is a buildup between a werewolf, its strength, versus a very old school timey vampire. We don't know how long he's been alive or anything like that, but I mean, it's scary. Whenever he has everyone there to shoot the werewolf, because he's trying to pretend he's not a vampire, they won't kill him because they're like, he's not a werewolf, he's just a guy. And he goes, oh, I'm fucking tired of this town. And he one hand flips a fucking truck upside down, vamps out, and there you go, just werewolf vampire. The last 10 minutes is just a throwdown.
So you explained a lot, but just real short, real briefly, what all makes this one so much better than all the other ones?
What makes this one so much better as the other ones is that it's a werewolf movie in disguise. Your average werewolf movie is a scary monster in the woods that's going to eat you in the middle of the night. A lot of them base their stories around it. Even the original Wolfman, from the 1950s by Universal Studios, they all started that way. You have a creepy dark night with a creepy monster in there that may or may not eat you if you're wandering around too late at night. Okay, this takes a completely different turn on it. It humanizes your werewolf by making it morally conscious, so it's aware, and it's showing that it has empathy and sympathy. They're not all monsters. This one wants to be a good person or werewolf, and he gets lured into being into a freak show with other freaks, and it ends up being it's the first hardcore vampire versus werewolf movie that you can encounter, and the werewolf is the hero, and that's extremely uncommon also.
Right.
So there's a spoiler there, but I mean, that's it in a nutshell. What I love about it is that it turns a werewolf, makes it into someone who isn't like that, who doesn't want to be that way. And I love that about that film, and him being the hero of the day, although it didn't have much of an ending. He just kind of wanders off.
So I saw this one, and the transformation is really badass too.
Oh yeah, when he's leaned over and you just see his shoulders exploding upwards.
Yeah, and you see his feet grow and stuff. That was really cool. So all right, that's your number 2. So we've got one left. The best one.
Oh, and obviously it's going to be Howling number 1. If it didn't end this way, everyone who watches this is going to come to Painesville in Minnesota, search for my house, go door to door, pitch me up on a fiery pitchfork, set me on fire in my front yard.
A mysterious stranger
died in an attempted assault of KDHB anchorwoman Karen White.
There's this blood on me, and I can't imagine who it might have come from.
I'm going to recommend that you go out to the colony for a week or 2.
Was here this morning.
God, look at the door. Bill just got bitten by a wolf.
Whoever is bitten by a werewolf and lives becomes a werewolf himself.
Your classic werewolf can change shape anytime it wants, day or night, whenever it takes a notion.
What about killing it with silver bullets?
Well, sure. Silver bullets are fire. It's the only way to get rid of the damn things.
I was looking for my wife.
Why?
of course the first one's the best.
Well,
And it is. That is my opinion, but it would be everyone else's also because of its iconic transformation scene. You get 3 of them. You get one in the beginning and 2 near the end. The rest, it kind of shortcuts the
for sure.
But the storyline is good. It's a reporter. She wants to interview someone who is publicly a murderer, but he's got a secret, and that secret, he's a murderer because he's a freaking werewolf. So she goes back to the town where he's from and starts finding out that it's an entire town of werewolves, and that in itself makes the ending of the movie so spectacular when he fully unveils what he is all the way, and there's an entire town of these things. The escape scene when trying to drive off and you just see all their silhouettes rushing towards the car, and like there's truly no escape. They're just outnumbered to hell. It is scary. The transformations to werewolves, obviously fantastic. Great storyline. Probably the only one that has solid actors as well that have done other things. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but she was also in Cujo. She's famous for that. I should have written it down before we talk. Everyone knows what I'm about.
That's fine.
You seen Cujo, you know who I'm talking about. But I shouldn't have to talk too much about the first one. That one's known by everyone. But this is, I'm hoping you'll give the others a chance. If you've only watched part 1, part 2, and part 3, there's reason to keep going.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely interested in number 3, and you, of course, this one, and you definitely sold me on Reborn. So your top 4 movies, you've definitely sold me on.
Right. Watch 7 if you just really are in the mood to talk shit about a movie for an hour, because I didn't even dive in to how pissed off I am about that movie.
Well, maybe we can do an episode about that, because after all, this is cult and trash. We don't really cover enough trash on here, so perhaps.
But I really appreciate trusting me to give my solid opinion on this.
You're definitely our expert. So once more, so let's go backwards this time. So your very favorite movie is The Howling from 1981. That's the very first one. Your second favorite, we have Howling 6, The Freaks from 1991. And then your third one is The Howling Reborn, 2011. That's the most recent one. Then there's Howling 3 from 1987. Then you've got Howling 4, the original Nightmare. Yeah, the original one. Howling 5, The Rebirth from 1989. And then Howling 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf, which is just like so goofy. That's definitely a so bad it's good one for sure.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, definitely watch.
Especially for Christopher Lee, above him and Sybil Danning, and you have Reb Brown in it as the lead, and Reb Brown is always great if you want to see a guy just like screaming the entire movie. And then finally, you have Howling: New Moon Rising from 1995. So so that's that. You heard it here first, folks. I'm probably gonna bring you back for some more rankings later on. I definitely enjoy this, and you're definitely pretty much the expert on franchises. You've seen them all. There's nothing you haven't seen.
I love doing these with you, man. And you and I personally, although we live 12,000 miles apart now, we watch quite a few movies together.
What's one we should do in the future?
You know what?
Should we rank next?
I've been wanting to recommend this movie, and I wanted to recommend it last time, and I had completely forgot. It's a movie that came out in 1978, and it's called Magic, and it's got help me out on this. Hannibal Lecter.
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins. Oh God! All right, his best performance. Now this is a horror movie. He plays a ventriloquist, okay, and he does the whole movie is you don't know if he's insane or if his dummy is actually alive. That's the whole premise. He's so good at it, but the horror is that there are murders happening. Is he a murderer, or is his doll coming to life and murdering people? And I'm not going to spoil the ending. You got to watch it. But his performance, because he can go from talking to himself to doing, because he learned ventriloquism to do this movie. So he's doing both. And he's arguing with himself. The cinematic where there's dialogue, there are like 5-10 minute scenes of this movie where he's in his kitchen arguing with himself, or you don't know, and his dummy sitting there on the other side of the room. He's screaming at him, and his dummy screaming back at him. And it's the performance is, well, in my opinion, Anthony Hopkins' best performance of all time.
Really?
And I've seen a lot of Anthony Hopkins movies. His older ones are great. And don't just think of him as the person from The Silence of the Lambs. We all know that movie. Now, yeah, it was a great performance, and it had a watch what he did when he was younger, when he was in his early 20s.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's called Magic, and you can see it on Tubi right now for free. It is an absolutely fantastic, phenomenal.
Go watch that right now, actually.
Do it, enjoy it, man.
Yeah, but no, actually, what I was asking is what franchise should we rank next?
Oh man, I went way off left field.
Yeah, I mean that was great. I enjoyed listening to
that. Definitely we should do the Sleepaway Camp franchise.
Oh, nice.
A lot of people don't know that there's actually 4. You have to dig, but you will find it. And I had a box.
I've only seen the first 2.
The third one had the same Angela, and that was in the second one. Because they changed actors. But anyway, there's 4 of them. That would be a great franchise to cover. Of course, I would love to cover the Freddy franchise.
Right. Yeah, that might work too, because that one's got a lot of sequels. And then
and you also have Silent Night franchise, which does and it does have some actors in it that it does the same thing that the Howling franchise does. Every movie is different. It's not just some psychopath.
How many are in that one?
There are 6.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and you'll love it. You're one of your all-time favorite actors, and I'll let you guess. House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, Sid Haig?
Huh?
Sid Haig?
Nope.
Bill Moseley?
I'll give you another hint. You also love him because you love Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, Bill Moseley.
Huh? Yeah, Bill Moseley. He's in Silent Night Part 3, and top of his head's been cut off, and there's nothing but a brain there. And they're doing weird science experiments with him and his brain. And you're like, it's so oddball because the first 2 are psycho killer movies, Silent Night, Deadly Night. And then you go to the third one, they're doing brain experiments on Bill Moseley. And his acting is awesome. Part 4 is a toy that comes to life and molests his creator, which is pretty cool. I guess.
All right, cool. Well, we'll talk, and we'll figure out what probably definitely one of those 3 franchises we'll do next, and then what was the Anthony Hopkins movie again?
Magic. Watch that right now. It's not just a great movie of all time in history. It's a great horror as well.
Okay.
Very suspenseful.
I've got a lot lined up for the next month or 2, but I'll try to throw it somewhere in the rotation there.
You don't even have to throw it in. Watch it for you.
Oh, I will. All right. Well, thanks for joining, and that'll conclude this episode of Clone Trash Horror Movie Grind. And then so next week we will get all the people, a lot of my favorite contributors that come on here, and we will actually talk about all the movies that we've covered so far on here. Dustin will be one of them, along with Bree and Johnny and Daniel and everybody. And then we'll just talk about all the movies that we've done already so far, and other movies we should do in the future. But until then,
one more. Well, right fast. Sorry to cut you off. Feel free to drop your favorite Howling movie at the bottom.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, in the comments. Yeah, what was your favorite Howling movie? What's your least favorite? And do you think that Your Sister a Werewolf should be at the end of the list? Tell us why.
Yeah, let me have it.
If you agree with Dustin, tell us why he's full of shit. All right. Well, until then, I'm Ian, and I will plant you now and dig you next week.
Catch you next time, man.
take it easy.
Awesome.